Coming up, the congressional struggle for bodily autonomy, eyes on America's elite, and how you can join the socialist fight. But first, a critical electoral victory in PG County, Maryland. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MDC Dispatch. I'm your host, Tony, and I will be bringing you the news and events from the Metro DC DSA. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and be on the lookout for a new Dispatch episode every first and third Sunday each month. Let's start with some good news. Ballots are still being counted, and the results are technically unofficial, but according to Maryland's State Board of Elections, it looks like Shayla Adams-Stafford is going to win her Democratic primary. For folks who may have missed previous episodes, Shayla's running in a special election for the District 5 spot on Prince George's County Council. She was endorsed by our chapter, Metro DC DSA, and is by far the most progressive candidate in the race. Unlike Shayla's main opponent, Ryan Middleton, she ran with no funding or support from big developers or landlords, and promoted union jobs, rent control, and an emphasis on community safety that does not rely solely on police. The primary was this past Tuesday. As of this recording, Shayla has received 50% of the vote, nearly double the votes of Middleton. The Shayla campaign has announced that she is projected to win the special election. Shayla's victory goes to show the power that we have. Our grassroots efforts as socialists led to many in our chapter knocking over 7,000 doors over the past few months, whereas corporate Democrats rely on the support of their wealthy developer friends. Socialist-backed candidates put boots on the ground and talk to their neighbors about the issues that actually matter to them, like housing justice, support for public institutions, and creating high-paying union jobs. And when we do this, our socialist candidates win. But what will this victory mean? The county council is currently split between 5 progressive and 5 conservative developer-backed Democrats. Shayla is likely winning the swing vote, meaning the progressive bloc would actually have power in PG County. They could do all sorts of things for progressive local politics, such as pushing for stronger rent control and social housing and improving workers' rights. Now, it's no surprise that establishment and corporate Democrats inundated this race with endorsements and funding trying to prevent this left bloc from taking power. Well, I'm sorry, corporate Dems. Enjoy your L. PG County residents will enjoy actual material change. In other news, the cloture vote on redefining sex and gender under Title IX of the Civil Rights Act was roundly rejected on Monday, with Dems holding steady. Senate GOP leadership brought the cloture motion in a continued effort to ban trans women from participating in sports on all levels. But their efforts have failed, for now. While this vote was blocked, the bill is not dead, and another cloture motion may be brought again. Let's remain vigilant and continue to mobilize resistance as necessary. You can take action now by sending letters through the campaign organized by our greater Baltimore DSA comrades. More action continues on the reproductive freedom front as well. The Bodily Autonomy Working Group is leading a nationwide letter campaign against fascist bills put forth by the GOP in the House and Senate. Earlier this year, they filed H.R. 7, the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion and Abortion Insurance Full Disclosure Act of 2025. I checked, it doesn't spell anything clever. This would make the Hyde Amendment permanent and introduce a multitude of additional restrictions on abortion care nationwide, with provisions that hit the district especially hard. Take a few minutes and send letters to your reps and demand they keep abortion legal and accessible. Metro DC DSA successfully held its February General Body meeting last month. Members, be sure to check your emails for voting on Amendment to Resolution 2025-02-GR01. Voting deadline is set for Sunday, March 9th at 11:59 p.m. Moving on to some interesting perspectives from the left, our weekly update has a dedicated section of curated articles from local, regional, and national commentary pieces. And in our MDC Dispatch, we will be highlighting one of our favorites. This episode, we're going with Eric Baker's 1 Elite, 2 Elites, Red Elite, Blue Elite, in The Baffler. The piece is sardonic and funny as hell. We definitely recommend reading. It starts by describing the picture that Trump and his supporters have painted of the elite. He refers to university deans, journalists, public health professionals, all people who are accused of not only being elites, but of furthering the so-called woke agenda. And it really makes the case that the right, the folks who supported and still support Trump's attacks on what they call wokeism, have this warped sense of who is an elite in this country, of who has power in this country. Baker then points out that all of those examples of professional elites are subject to the same exploitation by the ruling class and are beholden to capital in many of the same ways as the average person living in the US. To break it down, university deans are beholden to the decisions of a board of trustees and donors. Journalists at mainstream publications in the US are often working for a massive media conglomerate ready to lay them off at will. And public health officials are bureaucrats in a system now dominated by Republicans, and even before the Trump takeover, powerful echelons of political leaders operating in the administration's best interest. There is then, of course, all of the mega elites within Trump's own administration, including but not limited to himself, his confidant Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, tech moguls, and former entertainment executives. Baker goes on to address the fact that liberals have plenty of their own investor class elites, especially among the ranks of Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. But his probing question in this argument is that if there are so many ruling class jackasses openly flexing their economic and political power in Trump's base, why are only the liberal elites the subject of rural citizens' ire? It's a fascinating premise for an article, and Baker offers really substantive analysis. Read the piece linked in our update to read his theory. Moving on to upcoming MDC DSA events. Are you looking to organize and support the Metro DC community? Over the next few weeks, you can easily plug into the Metro DC DSA chapter. Here's what's coming up, but remember, you can find more info about all of the events in our full weekly update newsletter. Sunday, March 9th, join the Social Housing Working Group in the afternoon to fight the real estate lobby. Also on March 9th, an event for folks in Montgomery County, the Branch General Body Meeting, 2 p.m. at Gaithersburg Library. And on March 9th at 3 p.m., join the Bodily Autonomy Working Group's Mutual Aid Fundraiser Party. On March 11th, the Electoral Working Group will meet to reflect on the Adams-Stafford campaign, what's next, and how to get more involved. Join a fully virtual Socialist Night School, Socialism 101, on the evening of Thursday, March 13th. On Saturday, March 15th, join the Montgomery County branch of our chapter for a Rockville Rent Stabilization Community Forum. Another Socialist Night School, this one in person, on the Hindu supremacist movement in India and the US, March 27th. And finally, join the first ever meetup for the chapter's Socialist Parents Club on Saturday, April 6th. And now for a few events from other groups in the area. Itching to mobilize and get involved? Join DC Jobs with Justice on Wednesday, March 12th to rally and save affordable health care. Unelected billionaires and capitalist tyrants are attempting to take over our city and country. But it's up to us, workers, tenants, allies, and community members to stand up and fight back for our right to accessible and affordable health care. Are you curious to know how the district budget works and learn how to make sure programs you care about like transit, childcare, housing, and education are funded? Join the ATU Local 689 for a training with the Fair Budget Coalition on DC budget advocacy on March 15th at 12 p.m. And lastly, how can we start challenging colonial perspectives in our writing? Join After the Storm on Tuesday, March 18th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and bring your fellow comrades to learn storytelling practices our community can share as we move towards indigenization. RSVP and other links can all be found in the description below. Find these and more in the weekly update newsletter. Democratic Socialists of America is growing. If you're not a member of DSA and would like to connect with other like-minded activists, community organizers, and neighbors, visit dsausa.org and join today. Metro DC DSA is the third largest chapter in America with over 2,000 members. We are very active in the community and have groups focused on labor, tenant rights, LGBTQ rights, environmental activism, and much more. DSA is the largest socialist organization in America, and we would love to have you as a member. These and other stories, along with links and sources, can be found in the Metro DC DSA Weekly Update newsletter, which you can find linked in the description. This production has been a collaboration of members of Metro DC DSA. Look for new videos on the first and third Sunday of every month. I'm your host, Tony. A better world is possible.